There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Man, Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am once again your host, and we're here to, of course, talk Rod Serling's, vision for the future, because everything's coming true. But his iconic TV series that is the Twilight Zone. As always, if you like our podcast, definitely check it out on my YouTube channel. We also have it on Apple iTunes as well as Google Play, and I don't know if they have approved it yet, but I think Amazon, their service, whatever that is, they have a podcasting service as well. So I applied for that, and I haven't heard anything back yet. So hey, we might hit on Amazon at some point. Yay, Amazon. But anyways, we're here to talk an interesting episode, one that I know clearly and have seen a billion times before, even though I forgot that this was the name of the episode. But as we always do, I got to introduce my co-host. First, I'm going to introduce, this is the chick that won't quit drinking the hot cup of Uranus. Of course, it's Trip from Trivial Theater. Sorry, Trip, that's the best thing I could come up with that was even remotely funny in like 10 minutes. So I know the chick that won't quit is it's a little not great saying, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. You're not doing the hand movements, though.
How the hand movements go? Like,
I can't do them. You know full well I can't.
well, she definitely quit from doing the hand movements. But hey, by the way, congratulations on your live stream. I watched some portions of it. It went well. It seemed like the House on Haunted Hill is or is it House on Haunted Hill that you watched?
House on Haunted Hill, yeah.
Yeah. So
I watched it while I was driving.
That's always a good
I'm
thing.
just glad that you're here with us, Jake.
Yeah, but yeah, congratulations on that. Once again, congratulations on the 3-year anniversary. As
Thank
you so I'm sure another year of this nonsense will make you even crazier than we all are now. So but the other person you heard already is the man who, after Yang, will go on one hell of a ride, and that is Jacob from Jacob Anders Reviews. What's up, Jacob? How you doing? I picked the last two episodes. I picked the last two movies that you reviewed, or last couple of reviews. So it's
as of this recording.
Yeah,
you wrote Hell Ride and After Yang.
I figured, how can I turn those into like two one sentence that makes sense? And I don't know if I can succeed.
You did it.
Yay!
You
You absolutely succeeded. But I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. But as I always say at the end, but clearly these two are the screws of my heart. So you know how this works out.
Well, as long as we're not absolutely screwing your heart, then we're okay.
That'd be interesting. Is that what the remake of Inner Space is about? Screwing your heart?
I mean, possibly if you had that kind of a fetish, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
Worst things that can be screwed.
But yeah, it's been like I said, we did the Big Tall Wish last week. I think we were pretty meh on it, but I'm curious to see, as we never talk about what we actually think about the episodes before we actually start talking about them on the podcast. I think this is an episode, I think, at least to me personally, that I think we may have all enjoyed, but like I said, I can't read minds. But the episode we're talking about today is season 1, episode 28, which is called A Nice Place to Visit, directed by John Brahm, written by Charles Beaumont, production code 173-3632, which I think is 4 episodes from the completion of the season, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
But aired on April 15th, 1960, and stars Larry Blyden as Harry Francis Rocky Valentine and Sebastian Cabot as Mr. Pip, which I want to be called Mr. Pip. I think that'd be a great name to have. But
how many episodes are in this season? Isn't it like 32?
36.
36.
Yeah,
36. So we're not really that far from the end of the season then, I guess. Huh?
No, we got Nightmare as a Child, Stop at Willoughby, which is going to be an awesome episode to talk about. The Chaser, which I don't know how I feel about that episode. Passion for Trumpet, Mr. Beavis, The After Hours, Mighty Casey, and A World of His Own, which is Richard Matheson.
I can't wait till Mr. Beavis. I can imagine what that episode is going to be filled with. Just me and Triv going.
I'm actually gonna be gone that week, so I'm just gonna let you guys go and do your Beavis and Butthead thing. The whole
Straight
episode.
hour and a half of
Exactly.
Hey, Beavis.
You said butt.
Shit almighty.
Shit almighty. Well, hey.
That's another episode in the series. That's the X-rated versions of the Twilight Zone called the
Actually,
After
this
Dark.
this episode was kind of called out for its brazen sexual innuendos.
Yes, it was. It was.
There's a lot.
Well.
It should have been called out for the amount of things that Rocky came up before with Pip's nicknames. He came up with like 16 different nicknames for this episode.
Fats, Santa Claus,
That's a
String Bean.
Shit. So I always ask, Triv, I knew you watched this episode last week. You said you went ahead a little bit. So had you seen this episode before at all?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember?
well versed in this one. It's
Okay.
it's actually up there amongst, like, not top 10, but I
Mhm.
really enjoy just the way it juxtaposes stuff, and I enjoy it a lot. So
Right. And I know, Jacob, you haven't seen these episodes in 20 years, but did you have an idea going in, like what you're like, kind of any idea about this movie episode at all, or did you go like you always do and say nope, just kind of went to it blind?
Well, at first, no, I didn't remember it, but about halfway through, there's a part where they go to the Hall of Records, which isn't much of a hall, but anyway, that part I was like, I remember this, and really, and maybe it was because subconsciously I remembered it, but I kind of at least somewhat figured out what it was fairly early on, what was going on.
Yeah.
Maybe not 100%, but I knew the key point, the key thing that we find out in the end. I kind of was like, yeah, that's what's going on here. That's where he is. But we'll get there.
And I know, Triv, I know you might agree with this. This is a better interpretation of a specific character that we've talked about in an episode prior. I don't know if you agree or not. So,
I think it's an interesting interpretation. I kind of like all of the different versions, but yeah, it's certainly an interesting take. So
right,
that character's always, you can always tell people have fun playing that character. Which is that who he's playing, or just kind of a minion, or
he's more minion than he is, at least that's what I took from it. I don't think he was head man in charge. He was definitely, because he even says, yeah, I think he's a helper, he's not the main.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's true.
But playing someone within that wheelhouse is always probably, I gather that is always fun for actors to do, because it's always fun to be the bad guy, Oh, oops, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all good. I'm sorry. Podcast over. Okay, so
jump the shark.
Yeah. Okay, so the episode opens up. We're introduced to Rocky, or Hance's friend, Henry Francis Valentine. Hances, get your ass over here, Hances. He's basically robbing a jewelry store. He's stealing all kinds of jewels, and I don't know if he's not a very smart crook, because apparently the police are on their way, or somebody heard like the crash from the windows or something like that. Who knows? But he
there's a guy on the floor.
Yeah,
isn't there?
dude's
Is
dead
there?
next to him. Yeah,
is he
Oh,
dead?
well, he's just
or
not
knocked out or something. There's a
I
body.
assume dead, but maybe not.
Yeah, he's just not a very smart individual, as we can tell through this entire episode. But this is an episode that be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you growing up in a world where everybody hates you, apparently. So but with that said, this is kind of the opening narration for this episode is kind of caught between two different segments, but I'll go ahead and let you read it for her.
Portrait of a man at work. The only work he's ever done. The only work he knows. His name is Henry Francis Valentine, but he calls himself Rocky because that's the way his life has been. Rocky and perilous, and uphill at a dead run all the way. He's tired now, tired of running, of wanting, of waiting for the breaks that come to others, but never to him, never to Rocky Valentine. A scared, angry little man. He thinks it's all over now, but he's wrong. For Rocky Valentine, it's just the beginning.
You know, if a guy's tired of running or wanting, why do you think he would keep stealing jewels and apparently killing people
and running more? Because he straight ran right in the very beginning.
Yeah, he runs and he's like, I'm getting away from you, Kappa, because he does the whole Chicago accent or New York accent or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
I'm running from the screws.
Yep. You lousy screw.
I know it's a product of its time, but I love the gun show. Like when people in these older shows and movies back in that time when they would get shot, squibs weren't a thing. It had just been too much for TV. I'm sure too hot for TV. How they like shoot them and they go like and like no, there's nothing. It's like there's nothing
especially
happened. We're just going off of their body language and then they fall down. It's like there's no hole. I wonder if back then people just thought bullet holes and like they didn't do anything. And the first time a squib was shown on TV, people were like, "Oh my god, that's so graphic."
I guarantee you they did.
Do you think when the hard drugs in the 60s were brought into the world, do you think that's when that's when they started using squibs? Because like literally like it's funny because the whole idea of him being killed, which we learned later on, is the fact he got shot in the head. But I'm like, man, he's pretty intact for somebody who got shot in the head,
No, but censors wouldn't have allowed that at all, like in any way, shape, or form. Like even if you could show like a mark, they would have had massive issues.
They do show later in the episode, well, still in the beginning, but after that part when he goes to where he's going, there is a hole in his shirt in the middle of his chest. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be a bullet hole or if he just had some raggedy ass clothes on. I'm not sure, but there was a hole in his shirt, so maybe that was them signifying that you got shot there. I don't know.
That's possible. I like how hypocritical the censors were. They're allowing suicide and violence and calling people screws and all this kind of shit. But the idea of a squib or something, like, I'm pretty sure they could figure out a squib thing back in the 60s and stuff like that. But do you guys ever think that's funny how hypocritical the censors really were? Because there's stuff in this episode. He like literally starts shooting at Pip later on the episode, and that's fine. But as long as you don't show the hole or any type of hole, of any sorts, it's like, oh, okay, you can use any guns he wants, or the guy getting strangled by the rope or something like that. I don't know.
It's kind of the same thing today. I mean, censors, we can show all the violence in the world on TV, but it's funny you said just don't show the hole. I mean, it's kind of the same nowadays. Just don't show the hole. I mean, you show anything like sexual, and we'll get into that, like sexual innuendos, and a lot of they were really they didn't give a shit about the violence in this thing, but the censors were all over some ridiculous stuff that they said was just too hot for TV on the sexual side. Which there was one thing I was like, yeah, that's innuendo as hell right there. But some of the other stuff that they were like picking at, I was just like, really? But that's kind of, I mean, it's just a more heightened version of it today. I mean, you've got things that you can show people being like mutilated and body parts ripped apart and just in the most graphic and gruesome ways. But as soon as you show like a dick or some ass on TV, it's like, oh no, too much. That's too much for the kids. We can show ridiculously violent acts, but don't show parts that they all have themselves they see every day.
Well, even the use of like one fuck in a PG-13 movie, I mean, that in itself makes you kind of go, oh, okay, that's funny. I did look it up. The first documented squib was used in a 1955 Polish film.
Of course.
Understand.
Eastern Europeans.
Dude, like
push shit too far.
So they probably didn't. I mean, back then, if you're talking black and white, they would have used like chocolate syrup or something like that to start with.
I mean, hell, you watch stuff like La Dolce Vita and stuff like that. Like that's a pretty risque movie, but the French and Italians were way ahead progressively than we apparently were.
Yeah, they still are today.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and they are They are, but it's almost reversed. Like over there, you go over to like France, and across the world nowadays, violence is a bit more. It's people don't mind. We're a little bit more desensitized to it, but even over there in some of the European countries, like they're much more open with sexuality and things of that nature. Which I'm not saying you should be showing your kids porn or anything, but I mean, if it's a body part, they see it. They see it every day. I mean, you see these things every day, and they're gonna see them. You're not necessarily gonna see somebody get their head chopped off, but you are gonna see another person's body parts or your own body parts at some point in your life, probably pretty early on, depending on what body parts you have. But like I said, violence, you don't have to see that, but we make that okay. But over there, they'll show like all that stuff, and they'll have like more risque things. But when it comes to violence, in some other countries, they are much harder on it than we are here in the US. You hear about games and movies and stuff being edited, and like in Germany and Australia and stuff like that, quite a bit because of the violence. But it'll show TNA left and right, which I think that makes more sense. It's kind of like it attacks our sensibilities a little bit here in the US a bit more, and we're kind of like, that doesn't make sense, but it really does if you think about it. I mean, what's more damaging to the youth, if you will? A naked person or a mutilated body? I know we're getting on a tangent here.
No,
still, but that make a point though.
But that's something that I'm sure Rod Serling was affected by a lot. Like he would be very cautious about what he had to do, but also I would imagine some of these episodes like later on he was fighting the censors with, because I mean think about it. This episode, the guy is killed. He's gone, and he has like 3 ladies around him, and that's all that stuff is innuendo, and the idea of the violence and the language for his time. I mean, I can imagine this is one of those types of episodes that maybe had to tone down some stuff that he wanted to say. And but like for instance, Rocky is shot. We know he's shot. We know he's been killed because the guy doesn't get. I mean, even though it's just he's dead, and we have this guy in a white suit pop up. Sebastian Cabot's Mr. Pip. I keep saying Mr. Pibb, but it's Mr. Pip. And he's a guy that like is a well-dressed man, is basically his concierge in a lot of respects. But of course, Rocky is just he's very cautious about everything that's going on. I like when he stands up, because he's been shot, he is not able to fully stand up properly, which I thought was a nice touch. It's like, he's been like severely wounded, so there's no way you're going to stand up normally and just walk away from that. So I like when Pip goes, you have to give it some time and you'll come revert back to normal, which is like almost like his death is slowly eking a way out of him, and he's transferring himself into the afterlife in a lot of respects. But I thought that was kind of an interesting concept, which I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but that's what it felt like.
Ooh,
did the name
kind of
Pip
fun
have
bit.
some type of Did the name Pip have some type of like other meaning also? Was there like a something else to that, or is that just what they picked? I don't know.
I couldn't find anything specific, but I didn't look a ton. There is another episode later on in Twilight Zone that's called In Praise of Pip. Like you always hear it referred to as like a young lad, like Pip Lad or whatever, but I don't know in regards to this specifically where that sits.
Okay. I didn't know if it was maybe like abbreviation for a name of what we had eventually find out's going on here, or if
I can look quick. Give me a second here. Let me
shortened version.
Well, I mean, I'll say I like how Valentine's like needs like a hole in the head. Rocky stands up, falls to the side, he feels weird, and I think Pip actually says that you're almost on target right there, which I thought was kind of funny, but
you just had a hole in your head.
Exactly.
Oh well, in Britishism, it derives from a poultry disease known as the pip. To have the pip mean to get depressed or out of sorts, beginning in the 1830s, and giving someone the pip meaning to annoy or irritate.
Oh well, that makes sense for this one.
Yeah.
Well, she's a real pip. If you're talking about the phrase, she's a real pip. She's an excellent or very attractive person.
Maybe Pip is I mean, he is a guy of a certain quality, I guess, for individuals. I don't know, but he's well dressed.
The guy that
he's
played him,
a distinguished gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. The guy that played him actually went on to play Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street in 1973.
And he's not as old as they portray him here either, because his beard and hair, I think they had to bleach it
Yep.
and
it
it
stayed that way for
for
6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he plays the original Santa Claus in Miracle.
No, he played one in the 70s, so remake of that.
Oh, okay.
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
know
that one.
I didn't know
Not
they
like the
remade
30s
this.
one.
No.
Nah. Yeah, I didn't realize they made 3 different versions of that movie or that property or whatever. Interesting.
I think the one from this, I don't know. I guess they're both popular. But I know which one Trip's talking about from the 70s, I guess it was.
The question on Valentine's mind is not the fact that he's been given this like nice house or nice room and all this stuff. It is how does Pip know his name? He calls him Fatso. He doesn't like games. Pip points out that he loves games like Baccarat and roulette and stuff like that. But he's basically brought to this nice hotel or apartment room or whatever, and given all the clothes and giving money and food and whatever he wants. Which I started thinking about as we get later into this episode. It's like what I brought up I can't remember if it was last week or the last episode before that is. If you have all the money in the world, would you truly be happy, or would you want more money? And most of the time, billionaires want more money. They're not happy with more money. They want more money or houses, or I mean, that's kind of what's happening here. I don't know if you guys agree. Like he's been given everything, but as we see, the more he gets, the more he kind of loses interest, I guess you could say. I don't know if you agree or not.
They want unlimited power.
I think it comes down, at least in this case, I mean, as we learn as we go along, I think with him it comes back to more freedom, like the unsecured nature of life, and it's compared to like where everything is sort of planned out, and that obviously comes about more later. But
the thrill.
Yep, exactly.
He wants the thrill of it, of not knowing, but he knows. So what's the point of life if you? It's kind of like I took it back to this movie on another episode. It's not a very good movie, but the idea behind it was good. This movie called I Am Mortal that I reviewed a couple of months ago, where everybody is immortal and they kind of like lose all purpose in life. And that's the whole purpose of the whole movie is like, if you know you're never going to die, if you know that there's no chance you're going to die, you're immortal, what's the point of it all? You don't, there's no excitement in life. There's no danger. And that's kind of what he's saying is like when they talk about robbing the bank, he's like, if I know that I'm going to get away, if it's all pre-planned, what's the point? I mean, it might be fun once, but after that, I mean, there's no excitement in it.
Well, that's like, when we talk about like we're sad to see us leave on a vacation, like our vacation's over, or something we do that we've been planning and really excited for is over. We're like, man, I wish I could just do that forever. And then you realize if you did that forever, what's the point? It's boring. You don't get to have that excitement anymore. It's like, going on a cruise and your 3-day cruise is over, and then you're like, man, I want to go on another cruise. So you plan like a year down the road so to make it, a little more enjoyable than doing it every day. And that type of thing. So
loss is a key part to life and enjoyment, because if you live in Miami, you never go to the beach.
Thank you.
If I was supposed, I may have just doxed you, sorry, but you live in a Florida city on the coast, you never go to the beach, that whole thing. It's like when you have something that you've always wanted, and when you get it, it's just like it doesn't have as much allure to it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a good example. Disney World. I could never go to Disney World again and be just happy. Or if I go to Disney World, it's for the new rides. I just don't have any reason to, because I've been there so many times. It's lost its luster to me. But people who have never been there before, it's a whole different experience.
Oh yeah, so, it's a scarcity is what it comes down to.
Exactly.
I did also want to mention, and this is kind of random, and I was intrigued because I had never heard of it, but Mr. Pip mentions Mumbly Peg, which is a game of skill. Apparently Valentine was super good at it as a kid, but essentially they would like toss a knife as close to their foot as possible, and the one that lost the game had to pull the knife out of the ground with their teeth.
The fuck? Look, this came from an era when kick the can was some shit. Okay, I mean, who's doing that?
I mean, this is essentially pre-jarts.
This is.
I didn't think about that for a second. This is clearly in the same era as, when they did ballet dancing in the middle of the streets as a Puerto Rican group and a white group fought over, land or some shit.
Kind of.
Yeah. But before we actually get, before we get into the boredness that Valentine adheres to, he's literally given everything. If he wants something, Pip can give it to him. Money, he's given a really nice kind of 50s zoot suit or whatever. He's given all this stuff, and of course, my favorite part is a lot of people get paranoid if you're served food, especially if you're maybe not looked upon as very nice. People will serve you very interesting poisonous foods or whatever if you're high royalty or something like that. And he's like, what do you? He looks at it. He's like, you eat it, fatso. I'm like, damn it, I want.
I know you're hungry, motherfucker. Eat it.
And it's just like all that stuff is coming to a head. Like he's starting to realize he's been skeptical throughout most of the episode, anyways. But he's kind of like, why am I giving all this stuff? Why is all this stuff happening? And then he gets to a point where he like pulls out his gun and starts shooting Pip, but nothing happens. And I think that's funny. He just shoots him 4 times. He's like, oh, my gun must be out of whack or something like that. And then he shoots a lamp, and it's like by lamp, and it destroys itself, or it comes crashing down and stuff like that. But I mean,
we need to talk about the technical aspects of that for a minute, because I mean, clearly he's shooting blanks of some sort, but I don't know what type of, if it was just a cap gun or what, but I mean, it had some type of propulsion. It was shooting, the smoke out of the front of it. It was a blank of some kind. And as we've seen in multiple accidents that happen on movies, blanks are deadly at range. I mean, you can't just, like the soap opera star years ago who took the blank gun, put it to his head and pulled the trigger. A blank is still firing. It's a wad of paper essentially that fires out. I mean, it is still a mass that comes out. It just dissipates and burns up before it gets to, the distance of a bullet. He was fairly close to that guy while he was shooting him in the face and all that. I'm wondering, I mean, was that like composited in, or was he just shooting a blank at this guy from like 3 or 4 feet away? Because that's fucking dangerous if he was.
I was assuming he was shooting to the side of him as compared to straight at him.
Maybe the angle made it. Maybe he was shooting off to the side or something. But yeah, I saw that and I was, damn, he's like fairly close to that guy, just point blank shooting blanks. And like, I mean, I know there's not real bullets, but a blank can do damage. And you can even from that distance, you shoot a blank in somebody's face, that hot paper burning up is going to hit them and burn them. I thought that's what I think. When I see shit like that, that's what I think of.
I mean, it's one of those things where like you almost have to ask the question. It's for, when you look at what happened recently on that Alec Baldwin set, you just maybe they just have, I'm assuming they have someone there to make sure that whatever this guy playing Valentine is doing, that he does it properly. So
back then,
you don't think they had anybody?
Hey, give him a gun,
I would
and they
believe
said
that there was someone more likely there than back in like the early 1900s when they do westerns and they use live ammo. Like there was a couple of cowboys that died back then.
Oh, those brave souls.
This was
5 cents a movie.
This is early silent movies, but still, it was
true heroes of cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they're just like just pointed, in that general direction. Try not to shoot him. Shoot him away. I mean, this is the same show that had people like passing out in the fucking desert too. Remember, on cranes,
falling off cranes and shit.
I don't think OSHA was a thing back then.
Not in the way it is now, at least.
Nope.
No.
But for the most part, this whole break is just his introduction to this room, this world, this whatever he's in. He asks for $1 million. He wants $1 million, and a chick that won't quit. It starts dancing. He's given all this, just on the drop of a hat. And I start to question as we start getting later and we find out what's actually happening. Like it's almost like horrifying to think about. This guy is given everything, but it is really useless. Like I'm thinking about like when you're dead and you're eating. I don't know what happens when you're dead, but you eat food and like it's like being in the Matrix. Can you actually taste it, or is it like just something of fake notice?
Like tasty wheat.
Yeah, it tastes like burning.
I mean, they do talk about like the bathroom and stuff. So in theory, I think look at how he should have known from the start. Oh, he questions from the beginning. Oh, I wasn't a very good person. How did I get here? How did I, but it never goes further than that. It doesn't go deeper. So the ability to convince oneself where you are, I mean,
and this whole idea of this episode, which is I don't think Rod Serling was going for, is the concept of like, do you believe in the afterlife? Do you not believe in the afterlife? Would this be the afterlife? Like you just don't know. It's weird to think if like Rod Serling was going, you know what they should do in the afterlife? They should have a guy named Pip, and he should give you everything you want, but then you get bored.
But don't you think too, the way this is set up, like if you took another person, knowing where he ends up, like it wouldn't be this kind of a setup. Rocky was so unable to work with the stuff that he was given, that that was his version of this. Like someone else is going to have a completely separate version of it,
and my version is going to be sitting here at my computer constantly editing videos.
My version is sitting here next to my computer with someone else editing my videos. That's my heaven.
I like how when he's asking for, he says $1 million in G notes and a chick that won't quit, and he gets those things. I just like the expression. It's like $1 million in G notes. I'm like, G notes.
Which is
he like a musician?
$5,000 bill. That's a $5,000 bill. Which they stopped producing those in like 1946 or something apparently. And I think that the random trivia, which I'm not trying to step on Triv's part here.
We're all good.
If you had $1 million in G notes, it'd only be like 200 bills.
Jesus.
Which I guess that's how $1 million fit in that little side door.
But that's pretty much where the break ends. I guess he shows him the outside of the door and it has Henry Valentine's name on it, and that's pretty much, like I said, where the episode ends. There's not really much more to add unless you guys have missed something, but this is all set up.
Where the episode ends?
No, well, that too. No, the break.
You said that's where the episode ends.
Did I meant the break, the actual act break.
We skipped some stuff.
Yeah, it just ends. It's happy, good lucky. He's happy, he's fulfilled. He gets $1 million and a chick that won't quit. He's in good shape. It's this is like the episode of Friends where Phoebe's never watched the end of Bambi. It's all good. She's click off the tape. So that type of thing.
Have we gotten? Was it before or after the break that he doesn't really go to a casino, but the casino kind of materializes at his apartment?
No, that's literally
that's after, yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Okay, because there's something about that. Yeah, we'll do that after the commercial break.
But let me ask you this: for the break act, do you guys feel like it was a good kind of meaty intro, or do you feel like like last week we had like a really meaty intro that was a little slow for Jacob? I remember. But what do you guys think of that first act?
I overall really enjoy this episode. So like the cheeky, it's so cheeky, like everything that goes on with this, and I don't know. I enjoy like where this goes. Like the fact that he's like I want a girl that doesn't quit. And he's sitting there like doing hand gestures to indicate what he wants about her that's not going to quit. Like he just like he points at these very semi-erotic photos or paintings, and I don't know, just everything about it is so, I don't know, it goes out and beyond, and I think that's kind of great.
I think this was classic Twilight Zone. I mean, I liked it. I think it was even up to this point, it was a nice even episode. It wasn't boring. It wasn't just tons of setup. Obviously it's set up in the first part, but it wasn't just like set up with no payoff. You were getting little payoffs here or there. They were divvying out little bits of information of little interesting things were happening. So it kept me interested the whole time. I mean, I didn't know, like I said earlier, I didn't know exactly where it was going, but just how kind of cagey Mr. Pip was being with some of his answers to some of the cursory things that Rocky would say. Like whenever he would say something about I'm in the good, or I'm in heaven, or the good place, or that, and he'd be like, and then it would just kind of like move on to something else. I was like, yeah, no, you're not. But I picked up on that. I didn't know specifically where they were going, but I picked up on that. But I was still having a good time with it. And I didn't know it was going to go down the road of like the whole boredom thing and all that. So yeah, I was enjoying the episode up to this point. But the second half for sure, that's when some really interesting things happen.
Very
Some
much.
interesting
Well,
things come up.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was gonna say there's a lot of what I would call foreshadowing for the character. I don't know if that maybe I don't know. I feel like there's foreshadowing because he's given all this stuff, and it's stuff that affects the second half in a lot of ways from his tonal characterization of the character himself of Valentine, of how he treats Pip and how Pip, like you said, is very cagey in what he says. He even says at one point, he's like, he says, I can't really get into that, that really, because he asked him later on, are you waiting for the big boss? And he's like, being, like you said, cagey. And I like how everything sets up with a nice payoff later on with how just everything starts to turn on this character of Valentine, because he seems like he's getting everything. He keeps saying, "Oh, like you said, I'm in heaven and it's exciting and I'm getting all this," and you're gonna find out that may not be the place he's going to. So,
I do gotta wonder if people back in 1960, and I've wondered this with many of the episodes that we've watched, are we able, because there's been quite a few episodes that I've said a similar thing, and I know you guys have felt that way to a degree, of like, hey, I know obviously we're watching the Twilight Zone, there's going to be something that happens, but like with this one, I figured out fairly early on, yeah, that's not where you're at. I gotta wonder, back then, are we just jaded to like know that something's going on and we just like dissect everything as we're watching it? Back in the 60s or 1960, 61, when they were watching these, was it just like a big revelation to them? Were they like, holy shit, I never would have thought they would have done that? But now that we've
yeah,
seen just similar stories where they've taken these, probably cues from the Twilight Zone, and they've taken these kind of like twists of fate and stuff like that. We've seen them so much that now we expect them and we're looking for them. But maybe back then it wasn't as common. I am curious of that. I mean, there's no way we'll ever know unless we get somebody who was watching them when they were new to say, yeah, well, we never saw that coming. But
when you think about these episodes, and they're complex in the nature of what Rod Serling is trying to present to the public, but there is a simplistic nature to them that is almost unrecognizable to today's films and TV and stuff like that. There's this, we have two characters, they're in a room for most of the time, they're being presented with this particular situation, and I don't think a lot of TV back in the day was doing stuff like this that was a little more complex on the side of its concepts and theories and ideas. And I think that's why it was able to surprise audience. I mean, if you think about it and you watch something like Time Enough at Last, I mean, you kind of see where it starts to head after a while, and the idea of him losing his glasses is such a catch you off the guard type of situation that I think that's maybe where I think why it's so hard for us to kind of just watch the episode in simplest terms of just watching it for the surprise and the fact, because we're so used to like deciphering, like look at the MCU or something like that. There's always this deciphering of everything. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's where I come at it. I think it was such a different show for what was probably on TV at the time, I guess.
well, sure, before that, I mean, like you said, everything was Misread, I Love Lucy, Dobie Gillis, stuff like that. I mean, that was probably the later 60s, but there was all that kind of, sitcoms and things like that. People weren't used to seeing TV shows that really
Kind of challenged you a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
like what they saw on screen was what it was. And then, and I mean, I'm sure there was some other shows, but it was very much what you see is what you get. This show was showing you one thing, and then by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh nope, just playing. We're fucking with you.
Yeah.
So
I
it
mean, I do
probably
think you
was.
look at
Most people
the
probably were kind of taken back by it.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I do think you look at the fiction of the era, and regarded, obviously, this is a different thing and something that hadn't been done on television per se. But I mean, movies of the era weren't necessarily innocent. I mean, even just the B movies of that era were, there was a lot of that same like twist ending and things of that nature. So that's not TV though. That's not going to be your husband and wife and 2.5 kids or whatever. So I think it's probably
And
a
also,
mixed bag.
everybody, consumption of media back then was different than it is now. Movies and stuff didn't come to TV.
No,
I mean, some of them did, but they didn't. Like, if you saw a movie, you went to the theater to see a movie. And movies would play in theaters for years. I mean, they come back a whole bunch of times. Like you weren't watching, I don't know, Gone with the Wind on TV. And if you did, when a movie did come on TV, it was like an event. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
But like it was rare that movies were on TV. It was all TV shows and sitcoms and stuff like that. So some people might not even see these movies. They might not even this may be, it's hard to think about it, but like this may just really be that jaw dropping of, oh my God, I never saw that coming, because they never said that that's what it was. They said it was this, and I just put blind faith in everything they said.
But yeah, I think that's why the Twilight Zone is so influential and why it's become like one of the great pieces of Americana or whatever you call it, Americana.
Yeah.
Whatever. I split two words in one. Is for that simple fact that she blew out her mic on God.
American.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's looked upon as like revolutionary and inspirational Americana and stuff like that. It's just for the simple fact that it was doing stuff that no other TV show was doing at the time, and still is influential, like Psycho, in the things that it was doing for sci-fi horror and stuff like that. So I think that's why when it comes down to it, that's why it's so different than anything that came out at the time. I mean, I was looking up TV shows in the 60s, and like one of the big ones was Andy Griffith Show. Mr. Ed.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, yeah, you know,
the parallels are seamless.
I mean, a talking horse.
Uncanny. I know, right? Only in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, Andy Griffith every week with what's his face?
Portrait of a Man.
Boring as hell.
Wilbur and his horse. Edward.
I mean, hell,
this man sticks a corn cob up Edward's ass to get his mouth to move.
It does make you wonder, how did Mr. Ed get the Mr. before his name? I mean, most of the time you'd say, Mr. was my father. I'm just Ed.
I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Hot to Trot with Bobcat Goldthwait, where he's I think a talking horse. Was he a fly? I can't remember. I think he's a horse. I don't know. He explains a lot about Mr. Ed. Tells about how they shoved a corn cob up his ass to get him to move his lips like that.
Oh, that poor horse.
I mean,
was he a horse?
He
was a sock puppet in Freaks, wasn't it? Or Freaks?
He turns into he's got a sock puppet head and then a human body.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Love that part.
Okay, so moving on, let's go back on target. After the break, basically Rocky Valentine is he's winning all the time. He's got a bunch of ladies and some weird random dude on the side there that just seems to smile all the time when he wins money, and he's just winning. He wins. He's a winner. # winning. That type of thing. And goes over to a slot machine, wins $600, which is like, I don't know, $300,000 for us today. That type of thing. Yes.
Speaking of, did something look familiar there?
Yes.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is familiar. And I was kind of scared for a moment. Shit.
Oh, it was the same one, huh? I didn't even notice. I didn't even pay attention to that.
Before I even looked it up, I said, this slot machine looks familiar. And I looked it up, and what do you know? It is the same one from The Fever, which kind of scared me because I was like, oh shit, no connections to that, please.
Well, it's in hell technically, so it makes sense.
Exactly. So that made a lot of sense.
You think that slot machine has its own IMDb credit?
I bet you it probably does.
It's got its own
it does
agent.
Speak at one point, so I mean, it should have an IMDb credit.
Franklin.
It doesn't go Francis in this one. If it did, though, I'd wanted to talk like Pee Wee Herman, like in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Good job, Francis.
Shit.
I will also say, like, when they go out, and I'm jumping ahead just a tad, but I love when they leave the casino, like the bags that they have full of money actually say the casino. I thought that was great.
But wasn't the casino just in his apartment?
I don't think so.
No, because they actually leave. They leave in the car, then they go back to the apartment.
Oh, that's right. They did. I swear it was the same set. I thought
It might have been, but it's Valentine when they leave is like into the cracker box, and then Three Lady and Pip, and they go in and stuff like that. So the ashtrays are full.
Yeah, so he needs to get a new
Oh, yeah,
vehicle
'cause
because the
he said-
ashtrays are full.
Yeah,
They turn the trooper into a little person.
Yeah, the screw. This screw thinks he's better than me because he's a little taller than me. And they make him like a little kid or a midget. I don't know. Well, little person. I think we've had this conversation before. I'm
We
not
have.
really sure what to say. I mean, no offense to anyone.
But during this point, this is when you brought up the Hall of Records. Valentine, he brings all this is. I'm pretty sure. I think I know what happens, but it's really a little confusing. He takes all the ladies into the room, brings them into the bedroom. Then he has a moment with Pip, and Pip's like, if you ever need to call me at PIP, on the phone or whatever, which is a phone with only 3 letters on it. But he also asks about the Hall of Records, and he's brought to the same, I think, staircase as Time Enough at Last, maybe same one they may have used for that episode. And
I just liked how they called this a hall of records, and it was just some fucking filing cabinets outside on top of some stairs. There was no hall. It's hall of records. But before we get there, not to cut us off, to ramble a bit, but did you guys notice the part where he goes to tell the broads? He's like, "Hey, I'll be right back with you," and he looks in and something's up, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then he like walks off, and he kind of like keeps looking back like something was weird. Then he leaves. Did I miss something? It never explained that.
Maybe they disappeared. That's what I was thinking. Maybe they were
maybe.
I always assumed that he was maybe put off slightly because he goes to talks to Pip. Pip says, "Hey, if you need help, let me know." Or no, I'm sorry. He's trying to figure out what he did to get into heaven.
Yeah, it was when they were about to leave to go to the Hall of Records. And he goes to tell them, "Hey, I'll be right back. Stay right here." And he says it, and then he's kind of like taken back, and he's like, but he doesn't say anything about it. And he kind of like does like a double take and closes the door and comes out and kind of looks back again. And he's like, "Yeah, well, let's go. Come on."
Is that where he talks about? No, he talks about how everyone there is kind of like set pieces, like part of a movie, right?
I think that was after he.
Or was that earlier?
I think it's when he starts getting bored. It's because he goes to the Hall of Records, and he's like, "Oh, what have I done good?" And of course, he's done nothing good. Like I think he killed a cat or something like that, and then he just did some really nefarious things. And I was like, man, this poor guy has just never had a good life. He probably beat when he was a kid and probably abused and shit. It's just like I almost feel bad for him a little bit, but it's like, can you feel bad for him? I mean, like, I don't know. It's such a weird character to have.
You can say, you can feel bad for the situation that he was put into from an early age, but he still had the choice to kind of, a little bit at least, to choose his own destiny. I did also love when they're having the conversation about where they're at, and he says that something like, "Well, I thought only school teachers went to heaven." And Pip says, "We have a couple school teachers here," and I just thought that was really funny. I love that line.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so.
Because by that point, we already knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of what's cool about Pip's character. He is a very jolly individual, but he's also can answer any question, and sometimes his answers are kind of awesome like that. And I mean, he comes like when they come back, he says, dial PIP on the phone, which I love the Twilight Zone in their phones, the being weird and different and strange.
Well, for somebody who is so attuned to everything around him and trying to figure out what's going on as Rocky is, he just does not pick up on any of the fucking shit that Pip's giving off. Like, he doesn't listen to anything that guy has to say. He's saying shit and like he's like, "Oh, I'm in this place." He's like, he gives a lot of hints away, and he's just like, "Whatever." Oh, look, broads that won't quit.
Well, I think that's part of Rocky's
really
thing
stacked.
though too. He's so into his own enjoyment of it that he doesn't see anything beyond that.
Yeah,
because that's I'll go back to Disney World again. If you ever go to Disney World or Disneyland, you kind of become oblivious to the fact that you're walking into buildings that are just kind of show buildings and stuff like that. You're just looking at the land as a facade of like really cool attractions and stuff like that, but you never kind of unless the ride breaks down, you're kind of in your own world. And I think that's what's happening here. I think until he starts getting bored and starts questioning everything, I think he's just kind of wrapped up in his own desires and excitement and, you know, his obliviousness, I guess you could say. I mean, at some point in this episode, as we get down, he is really bored. He is back at the gambling casino, but he's just tired of winning. I like how he just like, you want your money wrapped in a bag. He's like, I don't give a shit. Basically, he walks over to the like he literally has
to me.
Yep.
Exactly, but he only has like a back rack roulette table or whatever it is, and he has the old what's that from the Fever? What did he call himself or whatever?
The slot machine, Franklin.
No, the slot machine. What was he calling out to the? He was calling out the guy's name, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's Franklin.
Oh, Franklin.
Yeah. So we're just gonna call the slot machine Franklin. He has his own Franklin and stuff like that, and then he wins the money. The money goes everywhere. He's just like, whatever. And then he walks into his room and he basically eats an apple. Goes to throw it and sees a pool table. And he starts playing the pool, and you can clearly see that the balls or the table's kind of slanted, so they go into the different holes and stuff like that. And he just like gets angry by that, and like, man, this must be murder to him and stuff like that. But this is when he calls Pip, and you know, it's like Pip comes in because as soon as he dials Pip arrives, and this is where we get into like, you know, wants to go back to the old days, and he's offered, you know, hey, we can set up a bank for you. You can rob a bank and you can get a getaway car. I have this question. So if he's literally able to do whatever he wants, at least at this moment, do you think that he would like start doing other things? Is he too simple-minded to do like what, like this the same thing over and over? Or I don't know. I guess I'm a little confused about why he's so bored when he's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants.
That is exactly what I have in my notes. I said I feel like I could find some other things to do in that place before. I mean, if you're talking eternity, I mean, I feel like I have a pretty active imagination, but yeah, this guy's like, he's like, I've been here a month and I'm bored. I'm like, man, if I could just have anything I wanted. Well, yeah, I get what he's saying, that like some of the excitement in life is not there because you get whatever you want. I still feel like I could ride that out for a while, at least a few years, if not like a few hundred years, you know, and maybe after a while you'd be kind of like, okay, there's nothing left to do. But I feel like a month, I could find some shit to do. I could get into some weird shit that if I knew that nothing was out of bounds. Yeah, I you know, maybe they should have stretched that out a year at least. I don't know.
But I think that therein lies the thing. It's that's what made it his personal hell, really, was the fact that he was so like, it was the lack of independence, the lack of, you know, the thrill of the hunt. That was his downfall, was the fact that he needed that. I mean, it's like, you know, you could lay out a feast in front of someone, but if they're too stubborn, you know, or that's a terrible analogy, I apologize.
No, keep going. I'm really hungry.
You give someone everything, but they don't know how to see it for what it is. I mean, that's you know, that's where it comes into play. That's what makes this his hell, is that he can't see beyond the, well, but I can't, you know, there's no spontaneity, you know, there's no danger, there's no thrill. I mean, that was what made it his hell. You take that,
Also,
you know, someone else.
You don't have to work for something.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he was so, this is all he's ever done, like going back, violence and you know, going against the law and all that stuff was all he'd ever known. And literally speaking, he was in a rut because everything was handed to him. Nothing was hard to get.
Well, that's the thing that leads into the end of this episode. Is the irony of it all is when he figures out what's going on, and he's like, you know, the whole getaway thing, the bank thing, and it's crazy because everything feels off about it. And, you know, he doesn't want to have, he wants that excitement like you guys were talking about. And he's like talking about how he's in heaven, and Pip finally reveals, he's like, I never said you were in heaven. Or no, he's in heaven. He wants to go to the other place. And Pip kind of starts laughing his head off. He's like, you thought you were in heaven? You're actually in the other place. And that kind of makes me question, because he tries to, like, I think he tries to leave the room or something like that, and the door's locked. Do you think he's now trapped in an apartment, or is he still trapped in this excitement, boring life that he's now going to have to live for the rest of eternity. And I mean, do you think that the stuff that he was given is officially gone now, and he's just kind of stuck? I mean, what do you think happens? Because, like I said, he's laughing his ass off. Pip is, which, you know, I thought he was the devil, but you guys made a good point that I don't think he's actually the devil. He's a minion. He's a guy holding the pitchfork, you know, the little dancing, you know, minion guy or whatever. But what do you guys think happens to this guy? I mean, do you think he's stuck in that room forever, or do you think he can continue doing, you know, what do you guys think?
I think it's a metaphor for the fact that, you know, he had doubts and he didn't know that he was in a cage, and all of a sudden he realizes he's in a cage. I think that's what I took it as. So he could still go out and gamble, do all these things, but he knows that regardless of what he does, it's not under his own volition.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he'll still be able to have whatever he wants, but except for the one thing he wants, and that's the excitement of, you know, getting caught, having to earn something. Even though he was a thief and he stole things, he still earned those things by, you know, the wrong way, by going and thieving and robbing and murdering and things like that. He can't do that now because the thrill of getting caught, the thrill of not being able to achieve, to obtain these things is gone. Now everything he wants, that's his hell. Which, I mean, people say that about heaven and hell is like every heaven, every hell is different for everybody. And I guess that's kind of what this is on, you know, first glance, getting everything you want in the world seems like it would be heaven. But for some people, and I guess they give a good case for all people, it would actually be a hell when what you want is not necessarily the thing, but where you derive the satisfaction of having the thing is working for it. Like, I mean, this computer that I built, and it took me a long time to save up the money to get that and have that. If somebody just gave it to me, I wouldn't appreciate it. I'd just be like, okay, it's just another $7,000 computer. But no, I spent a lot of hard work and blood and tears and all that to get that and finally be able to do that for myself. So now I really appreciate this thing that's sitting next to me and I take care of it. But if it was just given to me, it wouldn't have no meaning. It would be boring. And I guess that's his hell.
That's actually an excellent point if you think about it, because that's when you like you said, when you create something, when you build something, I mean, you know, you can go to a restaurant a million times and have great food, but it's like when you go and do it yourself, it's like, as stupid as it sounds, building something from IKEA, it's the same type of thing where, you know, you get all this packaging and instructions and you build the shit yourself and you feel excited, and then you, like you said, you get it yourself, it's, you know, not as exciting. It's cool, but it's like the trade-off there. That's a good point about, you know, the whole idea of why he would be in his own personal hell, because yeah, he gets all this stuff, but it doesn't have any satisfaction to it, which is he
didn't earn it. I mean, even if his way of earning it is at gunpoint, that's his way, you know. I mean, we may disagree with it, but he didn't earn it. He didn't achieve it. He didn't go and get it. It was just given to him, and it means nothing, and there's no excitement in it. So that's the one thing he can't have, is that excitement and that thrill of life is just not there. You could have everything in the world except for that feeling of satisfaction that you get from that stuff. And I think that he'll still be able to do that. But also to comment on, you had said that Mr. Pip is just sitting there laughing his ass off, which he does get there. But right before that, Mr. Pip's been this jolly old, good mannered, nice guy the whole time. And then right there at the end, and he's been putting up with this motherfucker shit the whole time, talking shit, being a jackass. And he's just been, yeah, well, and like he'll go and try and say something, and the guy talks over him. And then finally there in the end, I feel like he just lost his shit. And he was like, "You are in the other place, motherfucker." just laughs his ass off. But he has a moment there where he just like switches it real quick, and dude's like, oh fuck. But yeah, we get to see his true colors for just a minute. Don't fuck with Mr. Pip.
Nope.
Can we talk about the fact that all people from hell are big fat jolly guys? Does that mean Santa Claus is from hell?
I mean, Santa, Satan, how
That's
close
true.
are those two?
Yeah, Santa Claus is, I mean, he's got claws, and you know, Satan claws, and there's this. What's his brother? His brother is from hell. What's his name? Krampus, Krampus, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's
Terrifying
kind of like
movies.
Santa. So what Nick is saying to everyone out there in the world is that all overweight people are from hell or
I
going to
can
hell.
attest to that.
I mean, you could derive however you want. You heard it here first. He said all overweight people are going to hell.
Well,
I am
didn't say it, he
overweight,
did.
so that is definitely happening.
You're going to hell. No, seriously though.
I was trying to think if I want to do the closing credits now or closing narration now or
I'd say do closing narration now, and then we can get into the other discussions.
well, that's what I was going to ask. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about on this episode? Any other metaphors or concepts and ideas about this episode? Is there anything else that you noticed that I forgot to talk about, which tends to happen? Jacob and Trevor are very good at reminding me of stuff I forgot that I watched like 20 minutes before the episode recorded. So yeah, you guys have anything else?
I mean, this episode is kind of looked at on the same plane as Escape Clause. Sort of similar character stories, kind of piece of shit individuals talked to by someone from hell, whether it be the devil or whether it be a minion or whatever. So
see, the funny thing is
there's a good question. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. I was gonna say, is he really a bad guy, or is he just a guy that it was a unfortunate circumstance or whatever, victim of circumstance?
Are we talking Valentine or the other guy?
Yes, Valentine.
Valentine? I mean, he's a piece of shit individual. I mean, from his record, he was from way back. He was a person of ill repute. I mean, however,
I like that. Yeah, there you go. Up to they only got to like 9, and he had already like killed some animals and strangled some things and started a gang. And the funny thing was in that part also, when they were talking about all the shitty stuff he did, the guy would be like, I mean, at this age, you murdered a fucking dog. And he was like, I mean, it bit at me. It barked at me or whatever. And he's like,
it snapped at him or something.
Started a gang. Oh, that gang had such a good name. I mean, the guy was oblivious to how shitty he had been. Yeah, he was not good. And we assume in the beginning he either knocked the fuck out of this old man in the ground on the floor or murdered him. So he was. I wouldn't say he was a good guy. Not in my opinion.
That's fair. Were you?
Maybe he's misunderstood.
Yeah, he's definitely misunderstood. Now he's really misunderstood. Yeah. But you were gonna say something before I start talking, Jacob?
Oh hell, I don't remember.
So with
I'll
that
remember
said,
in a few minutes and randomly say it.
So with that said, I guess we'll actually remember to do the closing narration. So Jacob, do us the closing narration, which is really short.
Absolutely. This is extremely girthy closing narration. A scared, angry little man who never got a break. Now he has everything he's ever wanted, and he's going to have to live with it for eternity in the Twilight Zone. So
pretty straightforward. Nothing really too oblivious to point out, that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's I think overall, I think I think it's a good episode. Like I said, it has a lot to talk about, a lot more to talk about than I was expecting. But
and
Jacob,
still more.
Yeah. Actually, let's do that. Jacob, and I know Triv was talking about this as well. We'll talk about the ratings stuff, because I was actually didn't read about this, so I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Well, I know Triv's got some trivia and some other points that I probably missed, but I just pulled out. There was apparently the ratings board, or whatever they call it, the program practices, I think is what they called it. They were all over this episode, and it wasn't even the violent stuff like in the beginning, like we were talking about. It said it was, I think Triv already mentioned that it was singled out for its brazen sexual innuendo. And they requested that Valentine, like in the beginning when he's trying to describe the girl he wants, which clearly it almost seems like he's just sitting there like held back by the ratings board when he's trying to say these words. He's like, I want a woman who's, and he's even doing this, and he's like stacked. And I mean, he just wants to be like, I want a big titty hoe to come in here with a fat ass and just do whatever I want with, But he says, and they said, they asked that he not refer to a girl as a broad really stacked. And even though the crudity was essential to establishing the unsavory qualities of the character, nor could the protagonist refer to a party as a ball, because that word had more than one meaning. I mean, what other I mean, yeah, I know ball or balls has more than one meaning, but what other meaning were they thinking that a ball, I mean, that really you could have in that context, hey, we're going to have a ball. I mean, I only think of two things: have a ball, oh, we're going to have a great time, like a fun, party, or fucking balls. But I don't really see how you're going to like mix up balls with, hey, let's go have a ball. Hey, let's go have some balls. I mean, what other thing could be a ball be? And in another sequence, a voluptuous young lady tends to Valentine's every need. Now, this one I do want to point out. And she says, is there anything else I can do for you? CBS comment, please be certain that the girl's third speech be delivered in a sweet manner as described.
To have a ball is to have sexual intercourse.
Really?
Apparently.
I did not know that.
According to this.
Is that the early Netflix and chill?
Yeah. I guess so, yeah.
To have a ball is to have sexual. Honey, let's
50s.
have a ball.
See,
keep that in mind.
See, when you see people going around, let's have a singing and cheering, let's have a ball. There's some dirty shit going down.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how Charles Beaumont wanted Mickey Rooney for the part, but his second choice was Rod Serling?
Oh, that
his second choice was Rod Serling.
Yeah, and Mickey Rooney popped up in the Night of the Meek last night of the Jockey.
Oh, that's right, he did.
I knew that Mickey Rooney was initially that's who they wrote the part for, or something like that.
Yeah, but apparently Charles Beaumont wanted Rod Serling, which would have been interesting.
It would have been very interesting. Well, you think Mickey Rooney? I can't see him in that role. He played. Well, I guess I'm thinking Andy Rooney, but like both of those guys, for the most part, played very kind of like, upstanding kind of roles. At least to some
that's
extent.
what they were going for. Kind of a Denzel Washington Training Day situation.
I don't know.
Have somebody who you're not used to seeing in that light, and it makes it all the more shocking when he's talking about stacked broads.
That's not how they rolled
and
though
balls.
with this. They picked stuff to back up the stereotypes because they only had 24 minutes to be able to tell the story.
That was the Twilight Zone, pushing boundaries. Maybe, I don't know.
Having a ball.
Exactly.
Having all kinds of balls.
Exactly.
All over their
just balls everywhere.
Yeah.
You get a ball. You get a ball. You get a ball. Just balls all over the place. You got balls on your face.
We're gonna be balling all night.
This isn't movie 43.
That's balls on your chin or neck.
True.
Neck balls. Got neck balls. Anyway, we got way off topic there.
Well,
what else you got for us, Triv? I know you got some more trivia from
Actually,
Triv.
most of it we already talked about.
See, she knows how to sprinkle that trivia around.
Sprinkle some trivia on them.
Yeah, I mean that's the Mickey Rooney thing. The fact that the guy that played Pip had to dye his hair. It lasted for 6 months, which was really interesting. Same guy went on to play Santa in Miracle on 34th Street. Most of what we talked about, was kind of sprinkled throughout. So
word.
I apologize. I kind of underwhelmed.
Oh no, I think I kind of stole some of your thunder. I was like
no.
sprinkling this stuff in there because I watched this a little bit earlier than I usually do, so I have more time to like go and look at IMDb and stuff. I did a very short search on things.
I got
some of the stuff in. Oh, hit us.
I guess.
Oh, you got a book.
I got a book. No, it says Serling passed on the idea. Instead casting Larry Blyden. Unfortunately, Blyden's performance seriously mars the episode. Although he is likable, his broad portrayal of Valentine comes across like a third-rate composition impression of James Cagney, Edward James Robinson, and George Raft. Buck Houghton feels that the material dictated Blyden's approach. You have to do something extravagant to keep it from just laying there. if he had just gone for it and said, "Gee, that's a great broad. You mean she's mine?" It would have been about as interesting as yesterday's fish. But he said, "Oh boy, really? Ha ha. I'm not having been the right thing to do, but it was something to do."
Interesting as yesterday's fish.
Yes.
Man, I wish that was in the episode because that would be hell of a thing for lexicon. But yeah,
I
I
mean,
guess he
dictaphone.
kind of does do like dictaphone. I guess he kind of does do a James Cagney impersonation to a degree. I could see that. I didn't dislike the performance though. I mean, I thought his performance fit in line with the other performances we've gotten in the era, or during that era as a whole. But for Twilight Zone and what they were going for, sure, he was a little bit over the top, but weren't they all back then?
To some extent, in that role, I mean, you look at anything that Cagney did, or you look at anything that Edward G. Robinson did. I mean, their performances had some nuance, but when they get hyped up or into those like high stress situations, I mean, they all kind of went this same route. And the fact that he was, I don't know, the fact that he kind of overplayed, or if he overplayed that role, I mean, he was kind of a 2-bit, loser gangster guy. So the way he ended up, the way that he portrayed the role, I think it fit with him ending up in hell and not being able to see what he had.
I think the problem is you have 23, 24, maybe 25 minutes to tell a story. And I don't think that's enough time for a character development for somebody like Valentine, just my opinion. Because he's basically the whole story arc is he goes to hell and he is given everything he wants he didn't earn, and he's being controlled by hell and his minions. I think that's where it comes down to. I honestly think when they made the story, when Charles Beaumont made the story, I think he wanted something, but I don't think he was ever going to get the good version of the archetype of the James Cagney or whatever.
I mean, what would be the
that
good
may be why
version
it plays
though,
it that way.
in that respect? I mean, what would, obviously, again, like you say, you only have so much time to fill out that character. But I mean, he was a 2-bit little bastard was really all he was.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they play it that way, like with the whole James Cagney pseudo impersonation and all the other tropes. And that's probably why a lot of characters in these episodes play to some of these tropes. Because like you said, they only have 24 minutes to do the whole episode. It's kind of hard to get like some deep character development going on. So they got to include some tropes in there that people know, at least of the time, maybe not nowadays, but at the time. So you can immediately know some things about this character. When he's sitting there going, kappas and all that, you already kind of get a view of, okay, he's like one of those types of characters. He's an unsavory type. And I think I would assume that's why they kind of play into the tropes to a degree. I mean, they may have, not played into those as much or made them a little bit not in your face and a little bit more subtle had they had like, an hour or I guess we'll find out in season 4. But if they had more time, maybe they would have been a bit more subtle with it.
Yeah. I mean, hell, you can look at Monsters.
4?
Yeah, season 4. Yeah.
When they come hour.
But you can look at Monsters they're doing Maple Street. I mean, even them, they're mostly stereotypes. They're not really characters. They're meant as a way to tell a story, a way to tell an idea. So
yeah, and there's something to be said for stereotypes. I mean, it's things we know. It's a quick way to establish something. And we typically have a negative connotation to the word stereotype, or when we're talking about stereotypes. But if it's used properly, which I think that they do in this show, I mean, they just kind of have to. I mean, by the time you would get the character, development that you would need for people to naturally figure out that this guy's a shitbag and all the things he's done, you're already past the 24 minutes of the episode and you haven't even done anything with, what the episode's about. Yeah. We need the 20 minutes that happened before he robbed that store to figure out that he's an asswipe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So with that said, let's try and end out this episode. I mean, we've been talking for a while, but so the Twilight Zone list, the ultimate list that nobody should ever find another list to make because this is the one that makes everything. Is this better than Escape Clause?
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. I'm sorry. You asked me. I told you in a little while. I can't remember it, but I'll just randomly throw it in later on. I remember what I was going to say. because I had
All
a,
right.
before we get into the rating. So do you guys think, because Escape Clause is the one with the devil, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So between Escape Clause and this one, well, I know that this one we're not 100% sure if it's the devil, but it's a demonic presence, a demonic individual.
Mhm.
Which devil? Because I know you guys for quite a long time said, because Escape Clause was before I was on the show, that Escape Clause, that the devil part was, really what made that episode and what kept it as high as it did for so long. Do you think, which devil do you think was better, Escape Clause or Mr. Pip?
It's a good question.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I was kind of asking that earlier. Like, do you guys think this is a better? I think I said that. Maybe I'm wrong. I like the Escape Clause one more because he feels more. There's more nuance to him, maybe to me personally, but that's just me. But it doesn't affect like if it's better than Escape Clause or not. It just, I think this one, the Escape Clause one was better, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd say that this one feels more subservient. Like he feels more like he does, like he pushes Valentine in different directions, but I do think that he's more, and he does have a way with words, no doubt. But yeah, I think that the devil and Escape Clause is more, I don't know, there's more
Devilish?
there to take in, I guess.
Well, I think the devil
No.
and Escape Clause for me, I actually enjoyed Mr. Pip better. But I mean, I like Escape Clause devil more too. But the devil and Escape Clause from the get-go, and I guess it's it's kind of hard. It's not apples to apples because the devil and Escape Clause, we know right out the gate, hey, I'm the devil and I'm going to do this for you. But this, I mean, he puts everything out there for him to know. He's kind of super cool, suave guy, but he's just the devil. I like this one because seemed more devious than the other one. The other one was just very straightforward and kind of like from what the hell was the name of that one? The Escape Clause. He was just very, I'm the devil. This is what it is. He was super smooth and super cool, and I liked him as the devil. But this one was just kind of more trickster, kind of like, I'm fucking with you. He was fucking with Francis the whole time, and I kind of like that. That's just that's what hell would be. They make you think one thing where you're like, oh, yay. And then just like, I feel like hell would just be a constant roller coaster of getting you hyped up thinking it's one thing and then being like, just fucking with you. And you're just like, oh, fuck, come on. So I think Mr. Pip did a pretty good job there with that. But both of them good. But
definitely
this one, I liked his devious nature.
No, I actually brought up to Triv that in the next season, I think we're gonna get 2 incarnations of the devil, or some form. Maybe it's a couple seasons. 2 incarnations of different devilish type characters, which are completely different than these 2. One's the Howling Man, and the other one's the Hunt. So I'm gonna be interested to see what you guys think in that form of factor when it's completely 180 and it's actually serious devil instead of like comedic devil, that type of thing.
But comedic devil is so much more fun.
I know, but you don't get a guy going, "Arr!" and then somebody spilling their hot cup of Uranus, you know.
Hey, that's on
you. Anyways, so with that said, let's move on to the last portion of this podcast or this episode, and that is the ever present, like I said, Twilight Zone list, the one that nobody else can copy because it's the greatest one ever. Do you think this is, let's just say it, do you think it's better than Escape Clause?
I enjoyed this episode a lot. Like, it had a lot of good stuff. I love the cheeky nature of it. It's an episode you don't have to think too deeply on, but there's a lot that you can talk about, as we've kind of discussed, whether you're talking kind of the behind the scenes stuff or just some of the weird stuff that goes down, the moral implications, like how he didn't know. I mean, there's talk of hell, all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think for what it is, where it goes, I think it is higher than Escape Clause, but I don't know where.
I agree. I liked it more than Escape Clause, which on that, speaking of all this heaven and hell and devils and all that talk about the Twilight Zone, oddly enough, Rod Serling, yeah, not religious.
No, I think wasn't he like an atheist or something like that?
He never went on record saying he was using that term, which I understand because that's kind of like, I mean, the word's even ugly, but he did not follow Christianity. He did not believe in, they said he did not believe in the Bible. So he didn't follow all that.
So here's the question. Is this a top 10 episode? Yes or no?
Let's see.
Send it mirror
Escape clause,
image.
surface sign, elegy, execution, what you need. I'm counting up to 10 from where we started. I liked it more than Mirror Image, which is our number 10 right now. This is for me, I've said this before too. This is a classic Twilight Zone. It was very well paced. It didn't, while I was able to pick up on part of what was going on, I didn't know specifically. I like these episodes that are entertaining at face value and very well paced. And you could just take it for what it is and say, yeah, that was entertaining. I was never bored and had a good time with it. It was, not one side or the other was better or not. It was just all really good. It wasn't a whole bunch of setup. The setup had substance and little payoffs as it went along. Like last week's episode was just setup galore, and like you're getting no payoff for that setup until the end. But it also, I like the episodes where, like this one, where even after that you can dig deeper and you can say, this isn't just that's his going into what makes this his hell. I thought was really intriguing, and how it had more to say than just what it was saying on the surface about how, like we've discussed, what is hell? Is it having everything you think you want could be hell, because what you really want, like in many cases, I think in life, is what you really want is not typically what you say you want. Oh, I want this thing. Is that what you want? Or is what you really want like the satisfaction of gaining that thing or something else entirely? I like how this episode really makes you think about that and talk about that. So I like those kind of episodes that get you to talk and get you thinking a little bit past what they put out there at face value. So yeah, I like this one more than A World of Difference. Which one was that? Which one was
That's
that?
the one where he's like an actor. He like wait.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I like that. I liked that. I like the hook of that one. I think I enjoyed this one more than A World of Difference too. Now, I mean, The Hitchhiker I thought was a heck of an episode. Of course, it's the introduction to Nan Adams and her murderous rampage. I definitely, I'll think about it more, but I think I liked it more than A World of Difference. So yeah, top 10. I'm gonna go with top 10 at the moment, and then let Triv talk me out of some of that.
I can't honestly say I disagree. Like, I don't know if I'd put it above A World of Difference, because that was one of those episodes for me, at least, where it hit on all of the things that I really look for in a good episode. But definitely above Mirror Image. It was more, not to say that Mirror Image didn't offer a lot, and obviously if we're talking top 10, they're all good episodes, but the implications, the discussion, like the fact of how deep it goes into, like you said, you can be given everything, and even if you have the world handed to you in a platter, boredom takes over, and that was his hell, was boredom, it was not being able to earn his thing. So it's definitely above Mirror Image. I don't think it goes as high as Hitchhiker. So I'd say anywhere between 8. I'd say either below or above World of Difference, but I'm gonna say below World of Difference, because I do like that around the same level as this one.
See,
I'm gonna. I have one issue though, and I have this issue every week. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. For chance
to dream. It's like I'm looking at these. I'm like, I'm cool with that. But then I see Per Chance to Dream. I'm like, I definitely liked it more per Chance to Dream. I guess I gotta kind of like blind out, but I just gotta like mark that one out and act like it's not there, because every time I see that, I like everything more than that one. So I'm like, it needs to go above that. So I just need to like forget about Per Chance to Dream and just accept it. These are the levels of acceptance. I've gone through.
Here's the question, Jake. Is this better than People Are Alike All Over and some of the other ones that are up there? Is it better than Hitchhiker and World of Difference?
People Are Alike All Over. We just watched that one.
This one where he ends up in the jail, like him and his buddy crash on Mars or whatever.
Yeah. Actually,
the guys with the Roman kilts.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of corny, but you can't hold that against, like the sets and everything, but you can't hold that against them. It's the era. I like that one more. It's a sci-fi one. Sci-fi is my favorite genre, so I did like that one more. So it's kind of like I'm hung up on Hitchhiker. I don't know, World of Difference and Hitchhiker is right in there because I did like World of Difference too. I'm gonna say that I liked Hitchhiker more. So I'm stuck between 9 and 10, right in there. How about you, Nicholas?
I don't agree. I think this is actually below what you need. I think
Ooh.
I think there's something special. I think this is a great episode. Don't discount the episode at all. I think what you need has a better, interesting payoff and conclusion and idea behind the guy. Mirror Image had that great moment with her just becoming a scientist all of a sudden, which I really enjoy. I honestly think World of Difference is one of the most unique episodes in the Twilight Zone. At some point it'll be dropped out of top 10, I'm sure, but I don't know. I just find those episodes much more entertaining and much more well thought out than this episode, but it doesn't take away from we're talking about like episodes that you could literally put on and enjoy. That's what these top 15 episodes are, just they're episodes that are enjoyable and fun and entertaining. So I mean, I could probably meet you somewhere in the middle, but I definitely can't go above World of Difference and below Execution. Or yeah.
I'm convinced. I mean, Triv kind of convinced me right out the gate. I think World of Difference is probably better than this one. So I'm kind of I did like this one more than Mirror Image though. But like you said, I'm agreeable because like these episodes are kind of like all right there. Yeah. Mirror Image I didn't think was that. I like the idea behind Mirror Image, but the execution of Mirror Image was fine, but I didn't think it was as great as I know you guys liked it a bit more than I did. I thought the first half of Mirror Image was really good, but as it went on, it was kind of like I just didn't get much payoff for me personally. But we're not talking about Mirror Image; we already talked about it. I think that, but yeah, I liked it a little bit more than Mirror Image. But I'm with you. I don't think it was better than A World of Difference. Now, What You Need, that's a weird. I really enjoy What You Need, and because of all this Nan Adams stuff we've done throughout all these episodes, I always pair that one with The Hitchhiker. Because I think that was the first one we started the whole, that was her. She came and ran over him. So I always like pair that. It's like those two episodes meld together for me. So I'm looking at Hitchhiker and I'm like, yeah, that's the one where she ran over the guy and it like knocked him out of his shoes. So then when you just said, I liked it better than What You Need, I was like, oh yeah, What You Need, that's the one. Because What You Need had a lot. It did a lot of that I'm talking about, how like it gets you to talking and get you to thinking about what was really going on and all that. And that's what I liked the most about that episode. That and that final part was just epic, so amazing. If you ever do a compilation of like scenes from Twilight Zone, that one is definitely up there. But
basically we're looking at either a new number 10, top 10, or a number 11, somewhere around there. Either above or below. We basically got above or below Mirror Image.
I do have one other thing for you to think about before you make your final
Stop
decisions.
making me think, Trev.
No, I'm gonna make you think. Just remember that the slot machine from Fever was also in this movie or in this.
Okay.
Does that subtract points or add points?
I don't know.
Definitely.
I'm just
because it's in hell.
Devil's advocate. I'm playing Miss
because
Pip.
That means they sent that fucker to hell, essentially. So, I mean, that could be a positive, or it could be a negative that it's just there, period. Anything from the fever exists beyond the fever. That could be a negative.
Well, I'm playing Miss Pip here, so...
Son of a bitch. You know what? Fuck it. Number 10. A nice place to visit. Thank you, Amazon slot machine.
There you go.
All you do is say 10. Slot machine.
Slut machine.
Slut machine.
Slut
Play
machine.
the sluts.
Valentine is a slut machine.
Hey, butthead, this chick's awesome. She's talking about sluts.
We like sluts.
She'll play the sluts.
I'm gonna put it in the hole.
Good. Guys, isn't Mr. Beavis shit?
What the fuck?
Oh man, I can't wait till that one. I don't even remember what Mr. Beavis is about. I know what that episode's going to be about.
I feel bad for poor Mr. Beavis. All right. So with that said, for the rankings, Yeah, so new number 10 is a nice place to visit. I don't know how nice of a place. I think that's a play on words almost, or like, is it oxymoron? Is that what the word is? Is that how you say it? A nice place to visit isn't really a nice place to visit. It's like
Well, it
contradicting
wouldn't
itself.
be an oxymoron unless it contradicted itself within the words themselves, contradicted themselves. But
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a play on words.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Like if
definitely
it said, "This is an awfully nice," well, no, that wouldn't be. What would it be? An oxymoron would be like a right, wrong, or something. The words themselves have to contradict themselves. But it could be like a metaphorical oxymoron.
Yeah. There you go. We'll
Well,
just go
I
with
don't
that.
know. I think maybe I'm taking this too far.
well, I mean, what I think what they're referring to is that, like, when he got bored of being there, being in hell, and wanted to go, he couldn't obviously leave. So, like, he got everything he wanted, but then he didn't want to stay because it was boring and everything was handed to him and everything. So, like, it's like going to visit like going to visit LA. It's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there.
Would you say after his execution, he got what you need?
Oh, I see what you did.
And when he went
geez.
to the Hall of Records, he saw a mirror image of himself,
Is there a mute button on here?
and it made a world of difference.
Okay.
And if he had a
Okay.
perchance to dream, he would find that people are alike all over.
I'm
And that
about to
whole
read.
experience left Nick with a purple testicle.
All I know is I'm about to read this podcast is elegy.
Oh shit!
Anyways, so
I think
number
he's
one
got a
is
fever.
oh Jesus Christ. So number one is The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street Still. The last one is The Fever, of course, number 28. Next episode is Nightmare as a Child. I don't remember this episode at all. Directed by Alvin Gainzer, written by Rod Serling, music by Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah, it doesn't start anybody I know as well, unless you know Janice Rule or Shepard Strudwick. I don't know these people at all. This is gonna be one of those episodes. It's probably not gonna be well liked, I'm sure. Unless Triv has watched it. Have you watched it, Triv?
It's not familiar off the top of my head, but I haven't looked into it.
No.
Looking at the thumbnail, it's just a little girl going. So doesn't really tell us much.
Nope.
Exactly. All right. So with that said, that'll do it. That'll be our take on season 1, episode 28, which is a nice place to visit. Anyways, with that said, we're going to head out. But before we do, Triv, if they want to find your whatever you do in the time that you have time to do stuff and with mirror images and balls and all that good stuff, where can they find your content?
Well, if you would like to have a ball, you can stop over at my YouTube channel, Trivial Theater. I just did a movie called Grabbers, which again, it's good for a ball if you want to go that route. I celebrated St. Patty's Day with that. I also did a live stream where you can catch the comment or the commentary part of it this past Saturday. So both of those are up. Hopefully by the time this goes live or shortly thereafter, I will have done Fresh, which is a crazy ass movie I'm looking forward to talking about.
Excellent. I'm glad all three of us have seen that now. It's awesome. So Jacob, if they ever want to, find your Jag, where can they find your Jag at?
They can find my Jag at my
or the
second. Get your Jag off. You can get your Jag off at my second YouTube channel, Jacob Anders Gaming, which is growing very slowly. It's a slow grower. It's okay. It's got it where it counts. So go over there to Jacob Anders Gaming and subscribe, please. I don't beg for subscribers, but I will in this instance because I need that channel to grow so I can start doing my streams over there. But you can also find me at my main channel, Jacob Anders Reviews, where I talk about movies every now and then, and stuff like that. And I'll be talking when this goes live. I really don't know what the hell I'll be talking about. I got some movies lined up and stuff. I got some patron request videos going up of some older movies, older meaning the past 8 to 10 years. And yeah, that's really nothing new, I don't think. Not until next month when Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes out.
That's all that
I don't.
matters in
They
life,
don't
right?
send me new movies very often.
Oh, they send you new movies, but what those new movies are.
They don't send me new big movies very often. I have to weasel my way into screenings I'm not supposed to be into to get early screenings of big movies. That's where I'm at in my career right now.
Good times. And I don't ever mention this, but yeah, Jacob, you have a Patreon. So if you want to support his channel, please do. I don't know much about Patreon, but I know you make some money off of it. So give him money.
Yeah.
Give all of us money. We should start a GoFundMe page. Yeah, we'll do that.
Kickstarter. Hey, we should start. I also have I don't think they call it Teespring anymore. I think they just call it Spring now. Oh. I have a merch store. I can't remember the last time I logged into that thing. I've had two people buy something from it. But we should start one for our podcast.
We should. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, we should.
Got a lot of fun stuff you could put on there.
Yeah,
I keep saying I'm going to update mine.
Yeah, I have one of those too. I don't think anybody's ever bought anything. It's all right. It's still good. Still good.
There are two people out there that could possibly be walking around with my name on their chest. One person bought a hoodie and one person bought a t-shirt. Right on, man. Somebody's walking around with some shit on them and people are like, what is that? Some knockoff. You got like some Chinese Sega Genesis thing. It don't even say Sega Genesis.
Well, y'all both got my merch for random reasons, so
yeah.
Oh yeah. Coffee cup.
All right. So yeah, you can reach me at
too.
Yeah, mine's on my computer.
Yay.
So anyways, so with that said, you can reach me at Movie Emporium. That's where this podcast is held as well as audio feeds on Audio Boom and Google Podcasts and hopefully Amazon. But yeah, if you want to find all my content there, I have reviews, all that garbage. So anyways, that'll do it. So for myself, Triv, and of course Jacob, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out.
Bye.
Adios.
Do it.
Do it. What is this? A center for ants? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Movie Emporium. Jesus
That's Movie Emporium down there. Over to the side is Jake Anders' review corner, and then over here is the Trivial Theater for all your Trivial Theater needs.
This is gonna go at the end, probably.